Hey, yo, Foxboro. Thanks for joining me today to talk about the Patriots at Jets Week 8 game. I can't believe we're already in Week 8. We're about halfway through the season. So, that's flying by like it always does. And this is a game that I think some of us were probably assuming was going to go one way, and now it is not a game that you can assume anything. I think after Monday's performance, you kind of have to reevaluate what the Patriots will do or what they might do, and so that makes the whole thing a little bit more interesting, I think. So, yeah, I want to just jump straight into it. Let's start with the injury reports as of Friday. Obviously, we'll hear more tomorrow. The finalization. I don't know if they do that until tomorrow, but so far, we do know that the Patriots have already ruled out David Andrews, and the Jets have also ruled out some people, but let's see. So Andrews is out. So James Ferentz is going to be playing at center. Kendrick Bourne is said to be returning, so that is good. I mean, they said he was dealing with turf toe, so I guess it's not as bad as what normally is happening with someone who has turf toe. And Kyle Duggar returned to practice today, so that is good. I mean, we don't know if he'll be returning to the field on Sunday or not, but he did come back to practice after missing 2 practices with an ankle injury, and he left the game on Monday. So that is good. Barmore is likely not going to play. He hasn't practiced all week, so I assume he's not playing. The Jets have already ruled out Breece Hall. Obviously, he tore his ACL, so he's done for the season. And they ruled out Corey Davis this morning. So that is another big win for the Patriots, especially because he's one of their leading receivers, one of the only basically reliable guys that Zach Wilson has had to work with. So entering this game as the Patriots, are going now 3-4. The division standings, Bills are at 5-1. They're 0-1 in the division. The Jets are 5-2. They're 1-0 in the division. Dolphins are 4-3. They're 2-1 in the division, and the Patriots are 3-4 and 0-1 in the division. So this win would help them. It would put the Jets at 5-3. The Patriots would be 4-4, but it would definitely help to put them at 1-1 in the division. I don't know who the Dolphins are playing this week, and are they on a bye? I can't remember. No, they're not on a bye. They are playing the Lions. Okay, so I mean, I guess that could go either way. Really depends on which version of the teams show up, I suppose. So anything can happen. We shall see. The Patriots are 2-2 on the road, and the Jets are 1-2 at home. We know that Zach Wilson is back. He missed the first 3 games because he had tore his meniscus, I think, and he's back already. So he's been playing the last 4 games, and they have won all of the last 4 games. So, some of you guys are here finally. So hi guys, hello. Thanks for tuning in with me. So we're jumping into the key matchups. There are quite a few. So first, I want to talk about James Ferentz versus Quinnen Williams, and kind of basically the entire Patriots offensive line, because they weren't looking too good on Monday, but we know, like I said, that Ferentz is going to be playing center for David Andrews as he's still in concussion protocol, and they've already ruled him out. So it's kind of unfortunate that they are going to be missing Andrews in this game, especially because it's the divisional game, and the Jets are playing pretty well. Like I said, they just won their last 4 games with Zach Wilson, so it's not ideal that one of their more consistent run or just blockers on the line are going to be missing this game. And going against Quinnen Williams is going to be a tough task, I think, for the line in general, but especially James Ferentz, who hasn't been playing for the Patriots. He's been on the practice squad. So Quinnen Williams has been having a really great year. He is currently PFF's fourth highest graded player at the tackle position. He's only behind Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, and Dexter Lawrence, which, I mean, if you're like, you can be only behind like someone like Aaron Donald, then you know he's having a really good season. He has 5 sacks, and he has the 12th highest PFF run defense grade. So Ferentz is going to have a tall task. I mean, it would be the same even if Andrews was playing. It's just not going to be an easy day for them. I think, you know, like I said at the beginning, I think some people felt like, you know, the Jets games were kind of one of those, another game where you could just give them a W. And that's not the case anymore. The Jets are actually becoming competitive. And I think that this is something that I anticipated anyway when they brought in Saleh for their head coach, because we know what he did in San Francisco and their defense was incredible, and you could just see his energy on the sideline and just like how amped up he always was. I was like, if he brings that type of energy to that Jets locker room, then they're going to reap the benefits. And I mean, they're not an amazing team yet, but they're obviously a team that is working through like the development stage and growing, just kind of similar to what the Patriots are doing. It's just they don't have a brand new coach. So I would anticipate that they're going to be a better team over the next few years. It's not going to be an automatic W for the Patriots like it has been for so long. So Ferentz is going to have to dominate at the line, and it's not just going to be against Williams, but it's going to need to be to protect Mac and to get him back into the groove, because this is a game we know Mac Jones is officially going to be the starter. And I would assume, to avoid more controversy, that we're not going to see him pulled unless something bad happens, which I'm knocking on wood that does not happen. And he's got to play the entirety of the game. So we're not going to have to worry about the impact of that and the repercussions that they're going to have to deal with. So he needs to be great at blocking, dominate at the line, as I said, but also needs to help with the run game. So the Patriots are relying on their run game, and that is going to be, it's going to have to be a point of emphasis for Ferentz too. It's just going to be interesting to see how they split up the protection on the line, because if Williams is just completely dominating Ferentz, then they're going to have to figure something out. So, you know, obviously the Patriots have a pretty good line. They have Strange and Onwenu right there in the middle. But I think the biggest question mark at this point is just going to be Ferentz. And I think in a way you kind of have to cut him a little bit of slack, just because it is going to be his first official game of the season. So, you know, we're going to have to see how he does. I'm just praying that given the circumstances, he can be good enough to keep Mac protected and, you know, help Ramondre and Damian Harris. So moving on to the Jets offense, we want to look at Zach Wilson versus the Patriots secondary. So we know that Corey Davis is going to be out. We know that Breece Hall is going to be out, both of which were doing really well for the Jets this season. I mean, we're still not seeing the type of production from Corey Davis that we saw during his time in Tennessee, but I think he was kind of on his way to having a little bit more of a bounce back year. And I think part of that is because they don't have a lot of people pass catchers in New York right now. And so that definitely boosts Davis a little bit. They do have Elijah Moore still, and him and Davis were the only wide receivers that were really doing anything for Zach Wilson. Their average depth of target was the only one on the team that was more than 9 yards. So that is going to be a huge win for the Patriots defense in general, because that just limits Zach Wilson's options. And we know, I'm going to get into it in a second, but he's not good under pressure. And so the longer that he is able to hold the ball, the more beneficial it will be for the Patriots defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how our secondary does, because they are young and Jack Jones has not, it's not that he's necessarily been quiet, but, he had that stretch of 2 or 3 games where we were talking about him a lot. And it's been a couple games that we've really talked about him at all. So I'm interested to see where that goes. He has allowed the second lowest passer rating in man coverage in the league among all the cornerbacks, at 26.2, which is amazing. Jonathan Jones ranks right behind him in third at 35.6. So I think as long as both of them are just in their normal spots and, Jonathan Jones is healthy, I'm assuming he is, but he has dealt with some injuries. I am not too concerned about it. Hopefully the Patriots can, continue on their streak of just completely dominating the Jets overall. And we'll have to see about Kyle Duggar because, like I said earlier, he is not, he returned to practice today, but not necessarily trending in the direction of an obvious start on Sunday. So Jabril Peppers will likely be switched into his position, but we're going to have to just monitor that because obviously Kyle Duggar is Kyle Duggar. I mean, it's better when he's on the field than when he's not. So that'll be a big loss if he is unable to play. But it's one of those situations, again, where you want him on the field because you want, to selfishly have him there to help the team. But at the same time, like, I don't want him to risk further injury. So it's kind of, you're kind of stuck there. You don't know what's best. So sticking with Zach Wilson, and I already briefly alluded to it, Zach Wilson versus the Patriots pass rush. He's currently the worst quarterback in the NFL under pressure, according to PFF, in his grade and in his passer rating. So, I mean, as long as the Patriots can bring the pressure and force him to throw under pressure, he has limited options to throw to, and that also creates a much bigger opportunity for him to make a mistake. And the Patriots have been successful in doing that every time that they've played him in the last, they played him last year, twice last year. That was his rookie season, but they were successful in completely dominating the Jets last year. So as long as they stick to that and continue to do what they've done this season against quarterbacks that aren't as mobile, then I think that they will be just fine. But in a positive way, Zach Wilson has won all 4 games that he has been back for, so the last 4 games. But his stats are a little bit underwhelming. He's 58 of 101, so only a 57.4% completion percentage for 693 yards, only 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. And he's only averaging 173 yards per game in that 4-game stretch. So obviously they've been relying heavily on Breece Hall. And that is going to change because they don't have Breece Hall. So they might rely on Michael Carter, which I guess I can kind of switch this to. No, we'll get back to there. Michael Carter, or they did just trade for James Robinson. So, I mean, basically from what we've seen over this past week, we saw Christian McCaffrey traded on Thursday night and he was playing on Sunday. So I would assume James Robinson is going to be on the field for the for the Jets on Sunday. And although he hasn't been completely the James Robinson before he got injured last year or the year before, I can't remember what year it was, he's still a threat. So I think that the Patriots run defense would be a little bit more inclined to be successful, like hands down, if they had just Michael Carter and no James Robinson, if it was just him. But so they'll just have to make sure to pay attention to that. Matthew Judon, I think, is going to have himself a day. I'm hoping so anyway. I think that he can definitely bring the pressure and cause a lot of problems for Zach Wilson as he has previously. He's going to be matching up with, and I don't know how to say this man's name, Cedric Ogbui. I don't know how to say his name, and I'm so sorry. I meant to look that up. He's going to be matched up with him likely, since he primarily plays on the left side. And even though Judon kind of goes back and forth, I would assume the Patriots are going to try and take advantage of the fact that the left side of the Jets offensive line is a hot mess. They're basically going through the same issues on the offensive line that the Patriots dealt with 2 years ago, where it was like so many injuries and people playing out of position and bringing in the backup guys. And dealing with all that comes with that. That's what the Jets are dealing with right now. So I'm just going to call him Cedric because I don't know how to say his last name and I don't want to keep saying it wrong. But he is the 6th player to line up in one of the offensive tackle positions this season. So Patriots have to try and exploit his inexperience, at least with the Jets. Obviously, this is just his first start with the Jets, but he's been around the league. He's not a rookie. So I think that JUDON can definitely feast on him during this game. He ranks 4th among edge rushers with 32 pressures. He's also 20th at the position with 8 run stops. So we know that he's getting more involved, I think, than what we've seen previously. I think for the most part last year, they were using him to get to the quarterback, and he's everywhere this year. He's stopping the run. He's defending passes. He's getting to the quarterback. He's doing everything. And I'm hopeful that we'll see that again on Sunday with help, though, because he was kind of all by his lonesome against the Bears. And we've seen Dietrich Wise be his second, his right hand, basically. And that wasn't necessarily the case on Monday. The defense as a whole was just a hot mess on Monday. And I think a lot of that had to do with not being fully prepared to deal with a mobile quarterback again. It seems like every time they have to play a mobile quarterback, the defense they don't know what to do. And I feel like I would assume that's been a point of emphasis for them in practices, but based off of how they played on Monday, it just didn't look like they were at all prepared. And I had kind of talked about that being a possible issue in my preview on Saturday. Yeah, last Saturday. But because they played really well in the first half against Baltimore and shutting down Lamar Jackson, but then that all fell apart in the second half. And this game on Monday just was a hot mess from the beginning. They just didn't know what to do with Justin Fields. They made sure that he had the best game of his season, if not his career. I would have to look back, but yeah, it was just not good. So I'm hoping they can bring the fire in this game because Zach Wilson is not a threat with his legs. So we did see Zach Wilson play well against Denver, where Cedric only allowed 1 pressure, but his career numbers are not on par with only allowing 1 pressure. He's actually allowed pressure on 8.5% of all of his pass blocking snaps, which in 2022, the league average for tackles is 5.3%. So if they can kind of bring that out in him, because this, like I said, is his first start with the Jets, then Matthew Judon is going to be an absolute menace on Sunday. So switching gears to the Patriots defense, it's going to be their Patriots run defense versus the Jets running backs, which I've already kind of briefly talked about. So they're going to have James Robinson and Michael Carter because Breece Hall is out. The Patriots allowed 243 rushing yards last week and the first touchdown to a running back this season, which I was so disappointed about. Such a fun stat to be able to say, but I wasn't surprised that was something that ended because Monday's game was just... it is what it is at this point. So Barmore's absence, it's looking like he's not going to be playing on Sunday either. And it looks like it's taking a toll on their overall performance of stopping the run. So I'm hoping that they can overcome that in some way, at least figure something out to be the way that they lose this game. And because they don't have a real threat of a mobile quarterback, then the defense should be able to get back to how they've defended the run in previous weeks. We know that they completely eliminated the run game with the Cleveland Browns, where Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt basically did nothing. The same thing in the Lions, where they had Williams doing absolutely nothing. So if they can get back to that game plan and get back to that mindset, that type of defense that they were playing, then this shouldn't be a problem at all. It's not like James Robinson is a Christian McCaffrey. He hasn't been playing the way that Breece Hall has been playing for the Jets. So it's going to be interesting. And it's going to be a task, especially based off of what we saw them do on Monday. But I think that they are definitely capable And I am hopeful that they are not going to just be completely dominated because of the ground game. That would just be really unfortunate. Switching back to the offense, it looks like that's where I end. The Patriots receivers versus Sauce Gardner. So I know a lot of people were hoping that the Patriots were going to pick up Gardner, and I was with you guys, especially because we knew that he was going to be going in the first round and we wanted a corner, but I think that we're doing okay with who they've got, Marcus Jones and Jack Jones. So Sauce Gardner is having a great season so far. Last week, he earned AFC Defensive Player of the Week with his performance against Denver, where he had 10 tackles and 3 passes defended in just one game. In 7 games, he has an interception, 12 passes defended, which leads the league. So he's clearly exactly what the Jets needed in their secondary, and probably exactly why a lot of Patriots fans wanted him on the Patriots. So we're going to have to make sure that Mac is limiting his turnover worthy plays and just his turnovers in general. We know that's been an issue with him since the beginning of the season. So we don't want to see him forcing passes. We want to try to limit those 50-50 balls, especially when they just had another one against the Bears to Jonnu Smith, where it ended up in an interception. And whatever you want to believe, I wrote about this for Musket Fire, but that intercepted pass did bounce off of the ESPN Skycam wire. So whether or not that had any sort of influence on the trajectory of that football, it's unclear, but that ball wasn't underthrown. It just ended up being like, don't throw to Jonnu Smith in that scenario. Just don't do it. So, those types of plays are not necessarily working in their favor, especially for Mac, where we know that, was it like 3 or 4 of his passes to Devontae Parker, which were definitely 50-50 balls, ended up in interceptions. So I really don't want to see that. We need to see the receivers gain better separation. I would like to think that Thornton is going to be used a lot in this game because he'll be able to spread the field with his speed, and then Jacoby Myers because he is so reliable for no matter who the quarterback is. I also want to see more of Kendrick Bourne because they're not using Kendrick Bourne at all, and if he really is going to play and his toe is feeling fine, then I think that they should be able to use Bourne. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets aren't fully preparing themselves for the Patriots to use Bourne because they haven't this season. But Bourne has consistently been a threat when he is on the field and actually being thrown to. And so I'm hoping that we will see that. I mean, I've been saying that all season long, so it's just kind of becoming, I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but it is what it is. And I want to see more from Hunter Henry, especially in the red zone, if the Patriots can get into the red zone, because that's been another hot issue. But yeah, I think Gardner is definitely going to be an issue, and I think it's more so going to be from mistakes or potential mistakes that Mac could make, especially being his first official game back, or he's going to be playing the entire game. So that's a little bit worrisome for me, but hopefully he will show that it doesn't need to be an issue. And sticking with the offense, we have the Patriots running backs versus the Jets D-line. So we have Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. Stevenson on the season has 98 carries for 487 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an average of 5 yards per carry, which is pretty good as far as running backs go. He's also been really involved in the passing game, which I've really liked to see. Is 25 of 29 receptions for 145 yards, which I think is already more than he did last season for the entirety of the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of that as well. And Damian Harris has 60 carries for 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, and averaging 4.4. So they're really not too far away from each other. I'm not sure how healthy Harris is because they didn't use him a lot on Monday. And I don't know if that's just because, Belichick said, oh, well, the score got out of hand. I don't know if that was why it was like, okay, let's just keep him off because we don't want to risk re-injuring himself. But I don't know. I would like to see them more with what they've been doing at the beginning of the season, where they were rotating them on each drive, basically. So hopefully we'll see that. So the Jets rank the third best in the NFL by only allowing 3.9 yards allowed per attempt. I just said allowed twice. Sorry, guys. So they'll definitely, I mean, that's going to be an issue because the Patriots are relying on the run game and they're going to have to figure out a way to bypass that. So they're going to have to take advantage of Quinnen Williams and when Sheldon Rankins is on the sideline and probably use the run game on those moments because their backups, which are Nathan Shepard and Solomon Thomas, they are second stringers and they have been struggling in their run defense this entire season. So Thomas is said to be allowing 4.22 yards per carry when he's on the field. And he's allowed, which is 283 yards on 67 carries so far this season. And when he's off the field, the Jets are averaging only 3.84 yards per carry, which was 369 yards on 96 carries. So there's a significant difference there. So, I mean, I can't imagine that Bill Belichick doesn't know this or isn't going to be paying attention. We know he has crazy eyes where he can just see everything happening or even before it's happening. So I think that they definitely need to take advantage of that and just run it up the middle and break those tackles, running through the tackles just like they've been doing. Stop trying to force them on the outside. It's just not working. So, for the most part, that's all fine. Those stats sound like they could be definitely on the Patriots side, but the biggest issue that they're going to be facing is dealing with David Andrews' injury. That's going to come into play here big time because that then puts a lot more pressure on Strange, Ferentz, and on Wenu, and they're going to need to step up to protect Mac, but also to allow the run game to succeed. So hopefully Ferentz can do it. I think he's done an okay job in the past when he's come in for the center. I think he was one of the guys that was doing that when the season that Andrews was injured. So I don't remember it being like horrible, and maybe I'm wrong and you guys can remind me. But I think that it's a lot. I feel a lot more comfortable with it being Ferentz than someone who's maybe not most experienced there, because we know Ferentz has been there before. He's been with the Patriots for I don't even know how many years at this point. Even if it is on the practice squad, he has the experience with the team and the coaching. So that kind of benefits the Patriots in a way, instead of having to try and figure out, who's going to play center and if they're capable and is this going to be a mess, So the keys to victory in this game, there's a few, and some of them are very obvious. And I know that I'm probably just preaching to the choir at this point, but we need the Patriots to play from a lead and not behind. Definitely do not want to see them fall into a hole again, because it's not worked at all for them. And, the pulling of Mac last week, although I didn't necessarily agree with it, obviously it kind of electrified the offense briefly because they did back-to-back touchdown series. So that helped them put them ahead going into halftime, but then it all fell apart after that. So we're going to need to make sure that they maintain that and make sure that they play from ahead, because the second that they fall behind, it just isn't working. This isn't the Patriots team of, even 5 years ago where they were able to overcome that. And so I'm hoping that they come out strong, and whether that's on defense or offense, regardless, they need to figure it out. Limit the penalties. So it's unclear if Isaiah Wynn is going to be playing, but he didn't play last week and he wasn't a problem. That was Trent Brown. The Patriots only had 4 flags last week, and it was all on Trent Brown, basically in the first half. I don't even know if he was called for anything in the second half. I remember it was like over and over and over, just like bang, 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 bang. So again, the offense is the only one that's committing penalties. The defense is not being flagged. So the offense is going to have to figure their crap out, because they're already struggling enough. You don't need to be making it worse by getting these ridiculous penalties. And I mean, outside of Trent Brown, they did a really good job at not getting penalties at all. I mean, it seemed like it was kind of a game that wasn't penalized a lot anyway. I think that the Bears had 3 on the entire game. So clearly the referees were not, feeling like they needed to penalize people for little teeny tiny things. So that could change, but definitely do not want to see another performance like that from Trent Brown, because that was just, it was difficult for anybody to overcome, especially it was because a lot of it came when Mac was on the field. Another, do not turn the ball over. So as I talked about earlier with Mac being back on the field, that was an issue since the beginning of the season for him. He has 5 interceptions, I think, maybe now more, because did he throw one last? Yes, so I think he has 6 now. And not just that, but the fumble issues and the special teams blunders that they've had. So don't want to do that either. You don't want to give the Jets an opportunity, especially if the defense comes out hot and is able to limit Zach Wilson and the offense from doing anything. I don't want to see the defense turn the ball over and give them, the offense. You don't want to see the offense hand them any extra opportunities. So that brings into special teams. You don't want that to be an issue with them either. That's not traditionally been an issue with special teams, but they are very much of a roller coaster this season. We'll have some really great games from Brendan Schooler, and he'll create those opportunities in favor of the Patriots. And then there's times where Jake Bailey is punting and he's not doing a great job, and the special teams are missing tackles or getting penalized. So this is going to need to be a complementary football game. We're going to need to see all units of the team work together and work well and limit the mistakes, because that can lead to gigantic losses like they did last week. So, nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, basically, these are all keys that every team should be doing every single week anyway. But because these are things that the Patriots have been dealing with so much this season, then it becomes like it needs to be the focal point. So that's all I have today, guys. And I will be back on Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern to recap this game. And hopefully we can talk about a W. I'm knocking on wood again because I'm very superstitious and I want to make sure that I am not jinxing anything. So hopefully I will see you guys on Monday, and I wish you all a very good Halloween, pre-Halloween weekend. It is my birthday on Sunday, so please celebrate for me, and hopefully we can get a Patriots win. It'll be such a great birthday gift. So I will see you guys on Monday, and go Pats. Bye, guys.